They said he looked like he slept in his shoes, that his coat was older than the school itself. Every morning before sunrise, he swept the halls like a ghost, unnoticed, unheard, and for the most part, unloved. But one cold February morning, everything changed, because someone finally asked the question no one had bothered to ask in 15 years. Who is he? And what followed left the entire school in tears. His name was Mr. Rayford Cole. Everyone just called him Mr. Ray. Not because they knew him, but because they didn't. He was the janitor. The man who silently mopped up gum from under the cafeteria tables. Who cleaned up after pep rallies he was never invited to attend. Who polished trophies he never earned. He'd been working at Lincoln High School for 15 years, always the first to arrive, always the last to leave. The only sound he ever made was the soft squeak of his shoes on the linoleum floor, and that's what the kids noticed. Not his face, not his name, just his shoes, old, cracked, almost talking at the toes. They laughed about it in whispers. They never saw what was behind them. There's something about a man who says nothing that makes people assume everything. They assumed he had no education. They assumed he had no family. They assumed he had no future. But here's what they didn't know. Every night after scrubbing toilets and emptying trash cans, Mr. Ray drove 40 minutes across town to sit at the bedside of his wife, who hadn't spoken since her stroke 7 years ago. He would read her the same poem every night, Still I Rise, by Maya Angelou, and then kiss her forehead and whisper, I'll rise too, just not today. He lived in a modest home barely hanging on, with one working heater and a roof that groaned in the rain. His paychecks went almost entirely to medical care. And his shoes, well, his shoes were the last thing on his mind. It started on a Wednesday, in the teacher's lounge. A substitute teacher, young, fresh-faced, and new to the school, asked a simple question. Who's the man who opens the door every morning? Someone chuckled. Oh, that's just Mr. Ray, our full-time ghost. A few laughs. Then another voice, older, maybe a bit ashamed, chimed in. I think he's a vet. Vietnam, maybe. Quiet, type, silence. The substitute blinked. I saw his hands. They shake. But the way he folded that flag last Friday, she trailed off, because suddenly, the room remembered. Mr. Ray had attended the Veterans Day Assembly. Not as a guest, but standing in the back, mop in hand, hat off, tears barely held in. No one had invited him, but he had come anyway. That night, the substitute went home and wrote a post on Facebook. Just a paragraph about a man with worn shoes, a quiet dignity, and a story no one bothered to hear. She didn't use his name, but somehow it spread. Within 48 hours, that post had 1.3 million shares. Anonymous hero at Lincoln High. Janitor or guardian angel? People wanted to know. Who was this man? Why did he matter? And then, the superintendent saw it. She didn't laugh. She didn't scroll past. She picked up her phone, called the principal, and set something in motion that would change Mr. Ray's life forever. It was announced like any other school-wide event. Friday, 10 a.m. Mandatory assembly. Staff and students. No one suspected anything. Not even Mr. Ray, who had been told to clean the gym early that morning, and then told, awkwardly, to sit and wait. The bleachers were full. The lights were dimmed. The chatter died down, and then the superintendent walked onto the stage. She looked out across the sea of teenagers, teachers, staff, and then her eyes settled on him. Mr. Rayford Cole, she said, would you please come forward? Gasps. You could feel the ripple move through the gym like a wave. Mr. Ray froze. He looked around, half expecting someone else to stand. Then, slowly, he rose. The walk to the stage felt like it took an hour. Every step echoed louder than the last. Every face watched, some with curiosity, some with guilt, some with awe. And when he finally reached the microphone, the superintendent stepped aside and handed him a small black box. Inside, a medal, the Lincoln Medal of Civic Honor, awarded for exceptional service to the school and community. The room was silent. Then, standing applause. Not one student stayed seated. Not one teacher kept dry eyes. And then, someone shouted from the back, "Show us your shoes, Mr. Ray." Laughter, but not mocking, warm. Human, kind. He raised one foot, smiled, and said quietly into the mic, "They've got a lot of miles left in 'em." That day, students lined up to shake his hand. Some hugged him. Others cried. A GoFundMe was started by the substitute teacher. In 3 days, it raised over $73,000. Enough to repair his home, buy new clothes, hire round-the-clock care for his wife. But Mr. Ray didn't spend a dime on himself first. He donated the first $10,000 to a local veterans shelter and asked for one thing: new shoes, for the kids who need them most. And just like that, the man with the quiet eyes became a legend. Not because of his past, but because of his present, because he showed that kindness can wear worn shoes, and strength can sometimes look like silence. They used to whisper about his shoes. Now, they tell stories about his heart. Mr. Ray still sweeps the halls. But now, when kids pass him in the hallway, they don't look away. They look up. They say, "Good morning." They say, "Thank you." And sometimes, they even walk beside him, just for a moment, because sometimes it only takes one person, one post, one question, to change everything. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs a reminder that quiet heroes walk among us. Subscribe for more real-life stories of kindness, courage, and justice. And leave a comment below. What would you have done if you were in Mr. Ray's shoes? Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next story.